Good morning, guys. I'm going to demonstrate for you the very first assignment that we have done in Photoshop. And it was just a simple photo adjustment, and it was based on a really cool photo, and it was called Pink Salt. And basically, it's just a work of art that has some really cool reds and pinks in it. And I thought it'd be a great photo for us to manipulate and get a taste of all the different adjustments that you can use in Photoshop. I am currently looking at Remote PC. I am going to, of course, connect using Viewer Light. I will wait for Remote PC to open for me. And I'm starting this from the very beginning because I just want to give you guys an opportunity to see exactly what what you will always see as you log into Remote PC. Now, if this screen hadn't come up asking for my password, I probably would have clicked on this, and that would have kind of helped move things along. But since my name has popped up, what that actually tells me is that I didn't log out before. It's not a big issue because I'm the only one that uses this particular computer. But for you guys, if you ever see your name when you open it up, then let that be a reminder to you that you want to always log out. Just keep that as a reminder because there is someone else using most of our computers, and we really are going to hope that we never run into a situation where you start doing something and you're doing it and the name at the top isn't your own, because you could end up doing all kinds of work, and then by the time you're finished with it you realize, oh wait, that's not my name up there, and then all of a sudden your work is in someone else's folders, and we would probably be able to figure it out, get it to the right person, but it's just it would be a lot of work. So just make sure you're always on the computer in your own name. Here I am. I've got the blue screen that I like to see, and our first assignment is going to be working with that photo. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to go to Photoshop. Now, if you look at my dock here, you'll notice that I already have Photoshop. It's right there. And the reason it's there is because I've already used it. If I had not used it yet, it would not be down here. So I'm going to just start this as if you've never gone to Photoshop before, because if you don't see it down there, you might get nervous, like, how do I get Photoshop? Well, here's how you get Photoshop. You go to the launch pad, okay, that little rocket ship there, and you click on it. And once you click on it, you're going to see all these icons. Now, you're not going to see Photoshop on this page because Photoshop is something that's been added. So you're going to go to the second page. When you go to the second page, and I'm just going to get rid of this now since I don't need it, you're going to see Photoshop right there, PS. Okay, so click on Photoshop. Now, I've used Photoshop, so of course you see images on my Photoshop page. Now, I've shown you this before, and I will show it to you one more time because I think it's a good thing to know. Okay, you have the ability to create an interface that works for you in terms of colors, in terms of all kinds of things. Right now we're just going to work with color. This little apple right here, if I click on it, it's going to give me system preferences. So if I click on system preferences, whoops, not that, sorry, Apple is for the entire system. We're going to Photoshop. All right, now we go to preferences. When you go to preferences, there's interface, okay, and these are your options in terms of color. You could go for a black background. To me, that would be too dark. I would prefer to see dark print on a light screen. This is also pretty dark. To me, this is much better, and this is good too. So you decide what works for you, and then just click OK. Okay, so we have two options here. We have create new and we have open. For this assignment, we're just going to open. Okay, so that's gonna be, you know, pretty easy. We don't have to worry about dimensions and sizes and things like that. We're simply going to open a photo. So if I go to open, I can do it one of two ways. I can either just click this, which is definitely going to be the easiest way, or I can go to File and I can go to Open here. We're just going to use the open button. Okay. And when I do that, I get kind of a menu, and I need to locate the image that I want to use. So it always opens up to the last thing that I opened. Okay, so I want to just pretend that there's something up here. It's not what I want, and I need to get to my folder. Well, here's where your folder is. Your folder is on your desktop. Your folder will always be on your desktop. So get used to going to the desktop. So just click desktop. Okay, and now when I look at the desktop, I can see these are the folders that I created. Okay, I created, you know, some various folders, and I will probably end up kind of merging some of these folders because part of this was me demonstrating, and that's why I have so many different folders here. But typically, you would go to your PAMC folder. Typically, you would have 3 folders inside: Illustrator, Photos, and Photoshop. And typically, you would go to Photos, and inside Photos would be the photos that you've saved. The photo that we're using is called Pink Salts, okay? And I have a copy of it here, probably because I made several copies of this as I was demonstrating how to download this from Google Classroom. But if you don't know how to get this photo from Google Classroom, please go to Resources. There is a video that will show you exactly how to get this photo off of Google Classroom, okay? And that'll be for any photo that you need to get off of Google Classroom. So let that just be your resource if you aren't sure exactly how to do that. So this is the photo I want, and nicely it shows here, so I know that I've got the right photo. It should have like red tones, etc. So I'm going to open it, and there's the photo. Now, one of the first things you're going to notice is the way this interface looks. Now, since I've used this before, it always opens up to the last way I used it. So I'm going to go to Window, I'm going to go to Workspace, and I'm going to go to Reset Essentials. This is probably what your screen looks like if you've never gone to Photoshop before. Excuse me. So if you've never been here before, this is what your screen's going to look like, assuming, of course, you know, you've got the lighter interface like I do. Now, this whole area here is kind of just wasted space for me. So I'm going to click on these 2 little arrows here where it says collapse, and that's going to go away. So now I'm clearing some space. The other thing I want to do is I just want to make this a little bit larger. It's a little bit small right now. So to make things larger, you can zoom in, okay, or excuse me, zoom out. I can use Command plus, or at least I should be able to. But it may not work with Remote PC. And so I find that sometimes with Remote PC, we can't use the shortcuts the way I would like to use the shortcuts. So that's why we go to View and we just find Zoom in, Zoom out, and we do it that way. Now it's still a little big, and now it gets a little small. I can actually, unfortunately it's not letting me use my shortcuts. So I may have to just work with it at this size, or I can change it manually. I can, let's see. Nope, don't want that. Let's see what else we can do. We'll just try fit on screen. Okay, that's going to probably be the best way for me to see this, to just fit on screen, because it seems that it's going to be too small when I zoom in and too big when I zoom out. So this is good enough. All right, so the goal of this assignment is to teach you just about the very basic adjustments that Photoshop offers, okay? While I'm here, I'm going to show you some things. This is your menu bar, okay? Photoshop is going to give you things like preferences and just various things. File is going to be something you use a lot because you're going to open things here, close things, save things as JPEGs. You know, so you'll do a variety of things here. When we get into more advanced things, automate, you can actually create, you know, ways to repeat your actions. Edit, we're going to use quite a bit. You'll see that things are not open right now, and that's because we aren't in a place where we can do some of these things. But when you're actually working with a particular image or more than one image, you're going to find these things open up. So the things that are highlighted are things that you can actually do right now if you wanted to. Layers, we'll be using layers as we move forward. Type, select, deselect, all those types of things. Filters are a lot of fun. We'll have fun with filters as we move forward. You can really change photos quite a bit when you're adding filters to them. And etc. The view, of course, was the zoom in, zoom out, and just you can add guides and things like that. Window is where you're going to find every menu. So if I'm painting and I need brushes, I'll click this. If I'm adding type and I want to look at all of the characters, I'll open the character window or panel. If let's see, the layers panel is already open. You can see the layers is right there. It says here color is already open. You can see color is open. Properties is always there. Adjustments is actually behind properties. It isn't highlighted right now, but if I click on adjustments, all of a sudden, if I go back to window, I'll see that now adjustments has been highlighted. So this is going to be all of your panels. All right, so if you ever need to get a panel over here and you don't see it, just go to your window, find the panel that you're looking for, and you can go from there. So we're going to be working with adjustments, and we're going to make some really cool changes to this image so that even though this is a work of art done by someone else, we're going to turn it into our own work of art. And we're also going to experiment with each one of these adjustments. So we're going to go through them one by one. So the first one is brightness contrast, okay? And we know what brightness contrast does. There's what it looks like when we change the brightness, okay? Here's what it looks like when we change the contrast, okay? If you happen to make a change and you like it, go for it, keep it, okay? If you don't like a change, here's how easy it is to get rid of a change. You simply left click the layer, because what it does is it adds these adjustment layers, and you drag it to that teeny tiny little trash can right there, okay? And when you do that, it'll say delete layer mask. It wants to know if you're sure you want to do this, and you'll click delete, and you'll notice that it's still there. So now you'll delete again, and now you're back to your original photo, okay? All layers are gone. The only thing there now is your original photo, and if you choose, if you would rather give this a name and you don't want it to be called background, you can call it original art, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe you have a different name for it. But I've called mine original art. So the next thing I'll do, I didn't mind some of those changes, so I think I might go ahead and reduce the brightness because I think it accentuates some of those lines that I see here, and I do like that. And if I accentuate the contrast in this direction, things become a lot crisper. So I'm going to leave that change this time. I'm not going to I'm not going to delete it. The next one is a lot of fun, okay? This is called your levels. And what you do with levels is, first of all, if you look at this histogram, you're going to see how it creates these peaks, okay? And really what we're looking at on the very right, these are the light tones, and on the very left, these are your dark tones. And so when it's spread out, that means you have a lot of variations in lights and darks, okay? And if I drag this in, I'm reducing the range that I have. I'm bringing those lights in. And if I bring it in this way, again, I'm reducing the range of lights and darks that I have. So now this is becoming a lot crisper. You know, does that mean I like it this way? That's kind of up to you to determine. What do you like? When you turn this into me, these are all going to be different. Now, if you start fooling with the midtones, you're going to see some major differences as well. Like you can see that if I lower the midtones, that means I have a wider range of darks, and you can see that that's a pretty intense looking image, okay? So make your own decisions. Play with it. You like it, keep it. If you don't, just throw it away, okay? Just like we threw away the layer before. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to our next adjustment, and that would be curves. With curves, it's kind of fun because you have this little bar here, and if you click on it, if you drag it in one way, you're going to get a certain look. If you drag it in another way, you're going to get another certain look. You can see that it's going from light to dark. But what's interesting is I've placed a point there when I placed it there. So now if I go in this direction, I do something else. If I put another mark here and pull it this way. So I'm making these changes to it. I personally don't care for these changes, but you can see what I'm able to do. Like that is extremely different than what I started out with, okay? So you get to determine what kind of changes you like. So if you think that you like this kind of a change, then leave it. If you think you don't like this kind of a change, then throw it in the trash can. I'm going to leave it. I'm not sure why. I'm going to leave it because I know I haven't gotten to some adjustments yet that are going to change this in different ways. So exposure, I'm not really going to do anything with, only because exposure is almost like what you do with your camera. You know, if you have too much exposure, you know, you don't have much showing. If you don't have enough exposure, it's going to be too dark. We don't want to, I don't anyway, really want to change the exposure. I'm going to leave the exposure alone because I think the exposure in the original photo was probably just fine. We're going to move on to hue saturation. This is where you're going to see the biggest changes, okay? Now it's currently set at master. What that means is every color that is currently in this image is going to change according to the hue I choose. Hue means color. So if I move this in this direction, I'm going to get colors that start to change. That's kind of cool right there, okay? And this is when I have it set at master. Keep that in mind. This is set at master right now. If I moved it in the opposite direction, I'd get completely different ranges. So, you know, you can play with this and see, like, what do you like? I was actually liking it in the greens and the purples. Not sure why. I think that makes a nice combination. Now, before I stick with that, I'm going to go straight to the middle again. This is where I started, because I want to show you what happens if I don't use master. What if I only want to change the reds? Okay, so everything would stay the same on here except where there's red pixels. So now if I start to play with this, The only changes are within the red areas, okay? And there was a lot of red, and that's why I chose red instead of a different color. And so it gets to be quite interesting as you begin to play with these. And that's kind of even interesting. I sort of like that. Let's say I chose a different color. And there's other menus where this is also the case. What color might I want to change? Let's say I wanted to change the greens. Again, what's going to happen if I start to change the greens? Okay, the changes are very subtle now. So, and it's probably because I've already made changes. But you can see that there are some slight changes taking place. So I'm just going to put this back to the middle. And I'm not going to do anything more with this. I sort of like this, although I think in hindsight, I preferred not this, but I preferred when I had it set at master and I had the purples and the greens. Not sure why, but that's what I preferred, okay? And so with that being said, you get to choose what you prefer. You know, that's what's going to be exciting about these, is that they're all going to be extremely different. Saturation, of course, is just how much color you have. So, you know, how intense is the color going to be? If you are more into muted tones, you might be looking to the left. If you are into really, really kind of neon, crazy bright colors, you might be looking more to the right. If you're kind of a neutral person, you might stay in the middle. I'm going to kind of go slightly to the left. In terms of lightness, we know what happens when you go with lightness and darkness. I don't want it to look light. I would rather it kind of keep its original intensity. So I'm going to just stick with the middle there. All right, so that was kind of fun. I usually like using hue saturation because that's where you make major changes. Color balance is kind of similar, but it's gonna, again, now we're dealing with midtones, highlights, and shadows. So it's working with midtones right now. So it's, you know, if I add some blues to it, it's only changing the midtones, okay? If I want to add some magentas to this, it might look more like that. And I do like the magentas, okay? And right now, like I said, we're in the midtones. If I want to look at the shadows, maybe I want the shadows to take on a different look. Let's see what happens if I play with the shadows. Now this adds some more blues to it, which again, blue is one of my favorite colors, so I tend to go with blues, although I do like greens too. So I'm gonna stick with this. I kind of like it. All right, so again, let's go back to adjustments. Let's see what's up next. Now this is going to be black and white, and I don't think we want black and white. So we're going to skip black and white for now because we don't really have a need for it. Channel Mixer is really going to give you the most ability to, no, I take that back. This isn't going to give you the most. You're still going to be able to change colors with this, okay? But it's not going to give you the most ability. The most is going to come from this particular option, and that's Selective Color. Selective Color gives you almost every color to choose from, including blacks. So if you feel like, you know, you want black or you don't have enough black in your work, you can literally add it or subtract it. Same, whoops, and I think I accidentally, I'll keep it like that. And same with whites. So you didn't have these options with some of your other color options in the adjustments. I don't really want to lose my whites, okay, because I like the whites, but let's just say I didn't really want white. I wanted my whites to turn to different colors. Here I'm working with blues. I'm not seeing a lot of change. Let's see what happens when I go with the magenta. Now, strangely, let me go back to absolute. Right now it's set on relative, and that could be why I'm not seeing the changes. Now I'm seeing the changes. So when I change it to absolute, all those whites are now changing to magenta, okay? Or if I didn't want it to be magenta, maybe I want those whites to take on blue tones. Let's see what it looks like with yellows. That's kind of interesting. The hardest part is going to be making your decisions because really you could take this image and make 100 different variations of it, and they'd all be different, they'd all be unique. Of these others, we have gradient maps. I'm not going to show you that. Let me see. Posterize is an interesting concept because, like, right now, I'm not quite sure how many colors I have in this, but I can add more colors, okay? Or as a poster, I could take it down to this. Keep in mind, this is saying that this is now, something that I could take to a print shop and, wouldn't cost me as much money because they would be able to break down those colors, okay? If I have all of the colors available, it's going to be a richer looking image. But posterizing things is interesting. Like, you could take your own photo, for instance, and posterize it by breaking yourself down into 8 colors or 8 levels. So that's how we posterize. Let's see what happens. We're going to leave that one alone. All right, let me see if there's anything else that I think would be important to show you here. Not interested in color lookup. We've done that. We've done that. Gradient maps. Vibrance. We could kind of look at Vibrance and see if it has any. Vibrance is something you probably have seen in other programs before if you've ever done photo editing. Vibrance is something that is typically a common adjustment. The saturation, when I do this, it really makes it kind of dull. And when I bring it this way, it makes it, gives it sort of a neon look. I'm not really sure what I like. I guess I sort of liked it the way it was. Do I need it to be that vibrant? I almost like it when it's a little less vibrant. So I might go here. All right, I'm going to stop. This is going to be my image. And you can see now, if you look at my layers, you can see all of the layers I've added to my original photo, okay? And here's another cool thing you can see. If you ever want to see how something looks without something, click that eye, okay? Now all of a sudden, the hue saturation is gone, okay? And this is what my image looks like when I remove the hue saturation, okay? When I click the eye again, that's what it looks like. If I were to say remove the exposure that I added, that would be the difference. A lot of things, the differences are going to be subtle. When it comes to color, that's when things might look a lot different. And honestly, I don't see a big difference with my channel mixer here. So chances are I didn't even need that one. But yeah, it definitely, I like it richer. So now that I have gotten it to this place and I'm happy with this image, I need to do two things. I need to first go to File and Save As, because I don't want to save this Don't hit save. Whatever you do, don't hit save. You want to keep your original photo. Your original photo was called www.lifeofpics.com cosmic pink salts. I now want this to be my artwork. So I'm going to go to save on your computer, and I'm going to change the name. I'm going to call it Mrs. C Cosmic Salts Green. I'll call it green because who knows, I might do more and they might not be green. And since I sometimes do more than one, I'm going to call it version 1. Okay, now it is currently set at Photoshop, and it's currently looking like it's going to be saved in my photos folder. Well, I don't think I want it in my photos folder. I think I want it in my, let's click the arrow here. I want it saved in Photoshop, okay, because it is a Photoshop assignment. So I'm saving it in Photoshop, and it's gonna end up over here. So now I'm gonna hit save, okay, and then I'll click OK. So that's where it is, and now it's saved as a Photoshop file. So that means it's going to say PSD, which you can see right there, PSD at the end of the title. But I'm not done yet. Now what I need to do is go back, hit save as again, save on my computer again. The name is fine. I don't need to change the name, and now it's already set for Photoshop, which is fine. That's where I want it to save. But I need it as a JPEG. So now I'm going to go down to JPEG and hit save. Okay, it's going to give you this little menu, and it'll say 8 here sometimes, it'll say 10 here sometimes, it'll say 12 here sometimes. It sort of just depends on what you've got going on in the image. Mine wants to give me a quality of 12. Because it's a JPEG, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to click OK. Okay, and so I'm finished now. I've saved this as a Photoshop file. I've saved it as a JPEG file, and I can close Photoshop right now. So I'm going to close Photoshop. Now I want to turn this in. So what do? Okay, I go to Safari. All right, I go to Google Classroom. Now, unfortunately, I'm not a student, so I can't exactly save this as if I was a student. For you guys, there is a place very similar to how I'm going to do this where you submit your work. So you're going to go about doing this the same way you submit work normally, but I just want to show you how you're going to now find that photo. So let's just say I want to submit it to, I'm going to go to the assignment. I'm going to submit it as a teacher. So as a teacher, I'll go to that assignment, which was practice with adjustments. Okay. And since I can't submit this as a student, I'm going to submit this as if I'm adding it to the actual assignment. So for me, I hit add. For you, you're going to hit submit, but we're going to see a similar menu. So when I go here, you're going to see a menu that looks like this too. Google Drive, link, file, YouTube. You want file, okay? And then you should see a menu that looks like this. And once you see this, you're going to hit browse. All right, now's where you got to go back to the beginning. The beginning, of course, is desktop. Desktop is where all your files are, your folders. All right, PAMC, that was the folder that I saved all of this in. Photoshop is where I saved the assignments. And if you look, you see one says PSD and one says JPEG. I want the JPEG. PSD will not show up in Google Classroom. So I see the JPEG there. It's got my name. Make sure yours has your name. It's just always good to put your name on things. And then click choose. Okay. And so now my design and and I think you have to hit one more button, which is submit as, something like that. And so now it has been added. Now, as usual, I wouldn't see it unless I hit open a new window. But there's the image, and I have now sent it to Google or Google Classroom, and it's ready to go. So hopefully that helped you make some sense out of that first assignment. Just really let's get to know those adjustments, because there's just so many cool things you can do with them. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, send me an email, mcook@wcboe.org. Oh, last thing. Don't forget to log out.